Greetings, what cultureites? Which is definitely not, that's not going to become a thing. It's not going to become a thing. Let's forget I said it. But welcome to Ups and Downs for Raw, the only show you need to see, even if you watched the program last night. It's the place to be, so tell your friends and get all comfy. My name is Simon Miller from What Culture, and it's time to blast your face with some goods and some bads from Raw. Let's up some downs. The opening to Raw may have risked being stupid at one point, but when it was all said and done, it was awesome, so of course, it gets one giant big up. This is where we did see the proper Shield reunion, and it started off with The Miz coming out and doing some weird, bizarre, fake awards ceremony with The Miztourage and Sheamus and Cesaro, but then before long, Roman Reigns appeared with his former buddies, and they all ran roughshod. As much as you can tell that WWE is doing this because they've run out of stars, nostalgia is still nostalgia, even when it's young nostalgia, so it was simply awesome to see these three doing all their old moves and all their old spots. They laid waste to everybody in the ring, then they did their Shield fist bump, and yes, this was just a very good segment all around, and Roman Reigns got cheered at the end of it, so good work WWE. Step one in this reunion achieved. Let's see where it goes from here. However, all in all, this was pretty fantastic. There is more to this tale, however, because at one point it was announced that it was going to be the Shield versus The Miz and Sheamus and Cesaro. That wasn't what we got when all was said and done, and that was an up as well. After Braun Strowman had beaten Matt Hardy of all people, who then subsequently did just vanish into the abyss, the Shield came out again, and they laid waste to Braun Strowman, can you believe it? And they did their triple powerbomb through a table. Now, it was a bit odd at times because the crowd still reacts to Strowman as a face, so at one point it was kind of like nobody wanted to see this, but then we did see the big move and everyone got behind it, and by that point, I think everyone was just thrilled that the Shield was back. The fallout from all this was Ambrose saying that the Shield are so good they could beat any amount of men, so The Miz went to Kurt Angle and said, well, if that's the case, I want a fourth member on my team, and you know who that fourth member was. It was, of course, Repo Man. Now, if only it was Repo Man. If you haven't gathered from my last few videos, I really miss Repo Man. It wasn't Repo Man, it was Braun Strowman. At TLC, it's going to be Braun Strowman, The Miz, and Sheamus and Cesaro versus The Shield. That does make it more interesting and is a pretty good damn main event. And I, of course, look forward to seeing Cesaro take the pin in that bout. Poor Cesaro. After the aforementioned opening segment, though, Jason Jordan just took on Karl Anderson in a random out of nowhere match. And that's a down. Jordan won. It was just that. It was kind of just there, and given that this was coming off the Shield segment, it felt absolutely flat, and in many ways it kind of felt like WWE was setting Jason Jordan up to fail. I mean, they weren't, but you come off this electric opening, and then you put the guy that you were pushing in some random match with another dude from a tag team. That don't make no sense. Which led to another down, because Elias then took on Apollo Crews again, and yeah, Elias won again. So I have no idea what that's all about, other than the fact it was a down. It did have one highlight in the sense that Titus ONeil before the match came out playing the banjo to mimic the Drifter, but why is the Drifter still having these matches? He's beaten Apollo Crews and Titus ONeil, I think combined, 3 times. You're over it, dude. You've won. You're done. Time to look to whatever is next. This one is touch and go, but ultimately I do think WWE pulled the trigger too soon, so everything that happened with the Cruiserweights on Raw, really sorry, getting it down. It started with Enzo coming out and running his mouth again, and he's far better in this role because he does have an abrasive persona, so now it's cool that he rubs me up the wrong way because that's the point. Anyway, he called out Kurt Angle, and he got in Kurt Angle's face and was all like, why is Kalisto getting a title shot? I thought nobody was allowed to get a title shot, and Angle was like, yeah, but I signed him after that. The whole thing made no sense, but the point is, we were going to get Enzo versus Kalisto at TLC. However, then Angle decided, no, you know what? Screw that. We're going to have the title match this evening in the main event. And then Kalisto just won. So now he's the Cruiserweight champion. What? There was shenanigans here because it was a lumberjack bout, so all the other 205 Live guys were around the ring, and they hate Enzo, so they kept interfering to ensure that Enzo would indeed lose his title, but as I just said, this was well too soon. Enzo had apparently been doing such a good job that 205 Live ratings had increased, so why on earth would someone backstage go, don't worry about that, don't worry about the momentum, let's just keep fluffing around with it. And it's not the end of the world because Kalisto is great and the crowd reacted to him here much better than they have in weeks. It was just so random, just so weird. I tell you what though, as dumb as the whole angle is with Mickie James and Alexa Bliss, Those two didn't half entertain me on Raw, so that's getting an up. It was the usual promo tennis between a good guy and a bad guy, but when Alexa Bliss showed off a highlight package of Mickie James's career, and it was all like old school and black and white and kind of looked like a 1920s show reel, I thought it was quite funny. And I thought he did a good job of progressing all of this, so yeah, I enjoyed it. I think the two have great chemistry, and I actually do want to see Mickie James now win the women's title at TLC, and that should be the point. I mean, it's a huge shame because I don't think she's going to. I think Bliss is going to hold on to it for a while, and that does nothing for James, but still, in terms of a segment on Raw, I thought this was okay. And it is nice to see the women's title focused on, and not just thrown into a schmoz, because we've got to throw something into a schmoz. But so far, so good. 2 thumbs up, move on. And what a shame it is that I can't say that for the other women's segment of the night, because my gosh, what a mess that was. Down. It all started with another Oscar vignette aired on Raw, and then Sasha Banks, Bayley, Alicia Fox, Emma and Dana Brooke all went to Kurt Angle and said, I think I should be the person to take her on in her debut. Kurt Angle couldn't make up his mind, so he booked a 5-way match. And then did it get weird. It sucked straight away because Michael Cole told us it was 1 fall to a finish, and then Bayley pinned Dana Brooke, and all of a sudden we got told, no, she's been eliminated, so it's an elimination match. So straight away, it was bad. And then it just descended into chaos with Booker T making a bunch of bizarre analogies about boxing. Emma eventually pinned Sasha Banks to become Oscar's contender. You know what that means? Emma is going to be killed at the pay-per-view. And that is good because, my word, if I was the former undefeated NXT champion, I'd be backstage saying, I'm too good for all this. I should never lose. In the middle of Raw 2, we just threw Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher into a tag team match between Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. It's a down. I mean, it was fine, but it went 3 minutes, so what was the point? This helped no one. But none of that matters, none of it, because then we got to the Bray Wyatt portion of the evening, and my gosh, what the hell was that? Down. As it turns out, Sister Abigail is just Bray Wyatt when he puts a shawl on his head. Now I'm just going to stand here for a few seconds while you let that information sink in. Furthermore, when he decides to summon her from the inside or whatever he does, his voice becomes a bit feminine. Once more, going to give you a few seconds to process all that. What the hell is this? It's just madness, and now all I think is that on the weekends, Bray Wyatt goes out cosplaying as Sister Abigail, and that's fine. You've got to have some downtime, you've got to enjoy yourself, but don't put it on my TV screen in one of the weirdest skits I've ever seen in my life. I used to think I didn't get this just because I was old and cranky, and that people my age probably felt the same when all the Kane and Undertaker stuff was going back in the day, but I do not think that anymore. While we did have the occasional magic lightning bolt with those two, we also had setting people on fire or choke-slamming people through graves or a set of dead parents. I mean, it was ridiculous, but at least it was somewhat based in reality. To a point, you could believe maybe this did happen. What is Bray Wyatt? Possessed? And why is he possessed? And who is this person that's possessed him? And let's say he does take on Finn Balor in this new crazy wacky idea, and he loses. Well, that was a waste of time, wasn't it? Why did you even bother summoning her in the first place? And if Sister wins, then we have to get another match in this farce of a feud. This is just bad. It's bad. It's bad from the bottom of my stomach, my legs, my calves, my feet, my toes. And I know a lot of people like it, and good for you. This is just one man's opinion, and it means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But I don't like this, and it's really stupid. One quick final up though, because it was also announced that next week on Raw, we're gonna get Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman in a cage. I mean, that's kind of out of nowhere, but it will do good for the ratings, and it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. And it will probably enhance all the Shield stuff building into TLC. Oh, cool. Another 2 thumbs up right there. And that was Raw, and let's be honest, it's always going to be considered a good show because all the Shield stuff was really well done, but there was some nonsense on there too. And yes, I'm mostly referring to Bray Wyatt. But still, I'm excited about the pay-per-view, I'm excited about next week, so WWE, I have to say, you did a good job. Now don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about Raw this week. Like, share and subscribe. Follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and head on over to WhatCulture.com and read some articles about Raw, about the Shield, and about whatever you want. My name is Simon Miller from What Culture, and yes, you'll see me tomorrow when I'll be up and downs for SmackDown. I hate that name. I can't use down and down in the same sentence. We gotta change SmackDown to down smack. No, they've still got down in it. End of video.